We've now cut across to New Delhi, where Anthony Albanese, the Australian Prime Minister, is being accorded a ceremonial reception at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, the President's house. You can see Anthony Albanese there receiving a ceremonial reception there. Anthony Albanese is on a visit to India, a 4-day visit with multiple issues on agenda. There's trade, there's defense ties, there's investment and critical minerals that's on the agenda of Anthony Albanese as he visits India, and he is in New Delhi today for talks. This visit has been high on optics. Anthony Albanese was in Ahmedabad with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi watching a cricket match as cricket diplomacy was at play in the city in Gujarat, Indian state of Gujarat. He then went to Mumbai, where he visited India's indigenous aircraft carrier INS Vikrant, Indian naval ship Vikrant, and today he is in New Delhi for talks with the External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, followed by a meeting with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. There would be an exchange of agreement and a press statement that is expected around noon India time. The Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese there at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, the presidential house in New Delhi, being accorded a ceremonial reception there. He is on a 4-day India visit. The focus is on shared concerns about China and deepening trade ties. Today, Albanese will be meeting with India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, followed by talks with Indian counterpart Narendra Modi. A press statement after the meeting between the two prime ministers and the exchange of agreements is expected around noon India time. Albanese is on his maiden visit as Prime Minister to India and the first by an Australian Premier in 6 years. The Australian Prime Minister will also call on India's President Draupadi Murmu later in the day. He is accompanied by Australia's Trade and Resources Ministers. Australia is gunning for a free trade deal following a recent interim agreement. India is Australia's 6th largest trading partner and 4th largest export market. India and Australia, along with Japan and the United States, also make up the Quad. The grouping is seen as a bulwark against China's assertiveness in the Asia-Pacific region. India and China, remember, have been locked in a border standoff. In fact, Chinese jets have been intercepting the surveillance planes of Australia and other countries in the Indo-Pacific as well. These are the live pictures coming from New Delhi, India's capital, where Anthony Albanese is being accorded a ceremonial reception at the presidential house, also called the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Followed by this ceremonial reception, he will be visiting Rajghat, where he will be laying wreath and paying tribute to Mahatma Gandhi. And then at 10 o'clock India time, there's a meeting scheduled between Anthony Albanese and Dr. S. Jaishankar, the External Affairs Minister of India. And then about an hour or so after that, there's a meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Hyderabad House in the national capital. You can see there Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Australian counterpart Anthony Albanese being greeted by dignitaries there at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. At around 12:20 India time, the schedule is to have the exchange of agreement and a press statement. And in the evening, around 4:20 India time, Anthony Albanese will be calling on Honorable President of India, Draupadi Murmu.
जो प्रतिनिधि मंडल आया हुआ है ऑस्ट्रेलिया से, अल्बनीज़े प्रधानमंत्री जो हैं ऑस्ट्रेलिया के उनके साथ उनसे
Well, can I just thank Prime Minister Modi for the extraordinarily generosity of his very warm welcome here. Australia and India are great friends. We are partners and we're building that partnership even stronger each and every day, both through our personal relationship as the Prime Ministers of India and Australia, but importantly as well the relationship between our peoples. I lead a delegation here of significant business leaders as well. We want to cooperate with India and build a relationship in culture, in economic relations, as well as in our security. And I want to warmly thank Prime Minister Modi for this extraordinary welcome here today. We are competing on the cricket field to be the world's best, but together we are building a better world.
All right, so a short statement there by Anthony Albanese, speaking about an extraordinary welcome that has been accorded to him by India. He said that Australia and India are great friends. We are building our partnership stronger. He also spoke about personal relationship between the two leaders, Narendra Modi and Anthony Albanese, also speaking about how to strengthen relations, people-to-people relationship between the two countries. He's spoken about cultural, economic and security ties and the need to strengthen those ties. Also speaking about the cricket diplomacy, saying that we may be competing on the cricketing field, but together we are building a better world. So after this ceremonial welcome, both leaders in about a couple of hours from now will be sitting down for some hard talk. So beyond the optics, we'll have to wait and see what's the substance of this visit by Anthony Albanese to India. He's on a 4-day visit to India. He's gone to Ahmedabad, to Mumbai. Now he is in New Delhi. All right, as we stay on these pictures, let's cut across to WION's principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibal, who is joining us from New Delhi. Siddhant, talk to us about the importance of this visit. In just a couple of hours from now, the two leaders will be sitting down for bilateral talks. What are the issues that are likely to be discussed?
Well, this is, of course, a very significant visit. There is a lot of pomp and show, and we saw how last 2 days has been all about holy cricket diplomacy, and also visit to INS Vikrant, that's Indian Navy ship Vikrant. Just a short while ago, I'm standing here at Rashtrapati Bhavan, where the Australian Prime Minister talked about how both countries are working together in several areas, and we know that during this visit, number of pacts are expected to be signed, pacts in critical technology, and of course how both countries can work together in the Indo-Pacific. Now, yesterday, standing on board INS Vikrant, the Australian Prime Minister made a significant announcement. He said that this year Australia will be holding the Malabar exercises. These exercises are between India, Australia, Japan and the US. Now, remember that for a long time Australia was not keen to join the exercises because of its worries regarding China, but making an announcement from India on board India's one of the largest warships is sending a message to Beijing. So of course there is an overhang of a very aggressive China for both India and Australia. Now both countries can work together amidst aggressive China is essentially one of the key focus during this visit, but also a key focus on how there can be more engagement in terms of people to people. We know that a major announcement this visit saw was the establishment of Australian university campuses in India. The first such campus will be established in Gujarat's Gift City. So that is another significant aspect of this visit.
Siddhant, you know, the visit has been high on optics. There was cricket diplomacy at play in Ahmedabad. Then Anthony Albanese visited INS Vikrant, as you just mentioned, in Mumbai. calling India as Australia's top-tier security partner. So, such a reception for a foreign dignitary is rare, isn't it? And highlights the importance that India accords to its ties with Australia.
Well, of course, it is rare. As you pointed out, this is the first time a foreign dignitary has been on board. INS Vikrant shows that how security has been a key dimension, a key pillar of this relationship. But essentially, both countries have increased their engagement. It's not that the Australian Prime Minister is here in India, but we will see also the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi travelling to Australia later this year for the Quad Summit, which will happen in Sydney. So that remains a key aspect. But whether it's bilateral, whether it's multilateral, there have been engagement. Quad is an example of it, not only how India and Australia are working together, but also Japan and United States, countries who have same views and convergences on several issues, whether it's South China Sea, very aggressive China. And of course, this time we saw just in the first week of March, India hosting the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting, in which the joint statement also mentioned the Ukraine conflict in a very detailed manner, something that of course Moscow will be keenly noticing, but it is part of the growing camaraderie between India and Australia and the larger grouping, the Quad grouping.
One final question to you, Siddhant. So China, you said that China's growing domination in Indo-Pacific could figure significantly in those talks. You know, Australian Prime Minister is also expected to discuss the efforts towards a free trade deal following a recent interim agreement. Talk to us about the contours of this deal and how important it is for both the countries.
Well, yesterday in Mumbai, the Australian Prime Minister addressed the CEOs and talked about how Australia is a good investment opportunity. People, the Indian businesses can invest, and vice versa as well. In fact, the Australian Prime Minister is accompanied by 27 CEOs, Australian major companies like Rio Tinto, and the focus is how there can be ease in doing business. There has been an interim agreement which has come into effect, but of course for a free trade agreement to be negotiated, it might take time. So this interim agreement is helping towards that, because both countries were keen that there can be easy, low-hanging fruits that can be easily essentially help in ease of trade, and that is being worked out right now. This negotiations, the free trade negotiations, are yet to start, but given how fast both countries work together to have this interim agreement, hopes are high that there can be early conclusion of the India-Australia free trade agreement.
All right, Siddhant Sibal, we leave it there for the moment. Keep tracking those developments for us. We'll keep coming back to you through the day today. Thanks very much for joining us for now.